Luxury Staffing, the podcast by Morgan and Mallet. From the high seas to private estates, what luxury households can learn from yachting.
Hello there. Welcome to the Morgan and Mallet podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be talking with Stephanie, who's a recruiter at Morgan and Mallet, and we're going to be looking at her career, and we're going to be getting lots of advice for the luxury recruitment household staffing sector. So welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ben. I'm doing well, thank you. And thank you for having me here today.
Super. So Stephanie and me were just talking a bit before we got started, but she's got a fascinating story about her days as a stewardess working on yachts in New Zealand and Australia. So could you just tell us a bit about yourself, please? Like how you got started with the yachts and how you got started with Morgan and Mallet?
Absolutely. I first got into yachting. That was from a friend when I was living in New Zealand. And she was a New Zealander. She's still a New Zealander. And she wanted to go to Europe to work on yachts. And I was like, what is this? I had no idea what it was. I didn't even know you could work on the yacht. I knew cruise ships, but not yachts. And she started to explain to me. And I was like, oh, okay. And she kind of planted a seed. And after 4 years living in New Zealand, I left and I came back to Europe. I had a boyfriend in tow with me, so we were like, what's this about? And we started to kind of do some research. We ended up in a cruise ship, not in the same cruise ship, but this is basically how I started. So I took the easy way instead of doing all the dog walks and checking in with the agencies. I didn't even know there was so many things around. So I worked in a cruise ship and they got all my papers because you need to have some safety maritime certifications. That's very important. And then after that, basically I had my first foot into the industry. I worked my way from the bottom though. So I started very low on small yachts. Small, they were like 17 meters. For me, that was quite a big yacht, but it was great. And then, as you get into the industry, it's like everywhere else, you make friends, you have colleagues, and they tell you some tips how to get in and what you should do. And I also have a culinary background. So I was like, oh, maybe I could earn some more money as a chef. And I was also more interested in being a chef as well. So I moved on, and my goal was to never go on a boat that was any smaller than the last one, unless the salary was bigger or better, or my working condition would be better. And I did. And I ended up doing 10 years in the industry. It was very rewarding, very hard. It's a very, very hard industry. But I think working with ultra high net worth individuals is a lot to learn before you are able to accept the standards that you have to work with, the long hours, and also some interpersonal skills, knowing where to place yourself and all this. And yes, so for those 10 years, I've learned a lot. I also wanted to travel, and I love the sea and I love sailing. So for me, that was just very natural. I would end up in there.
Amazing. And I've got two questions. The first one was, you said you started off on a yacht. I think you started off on a yacht after the cruise ships. How did you get that opportunity to jump ship?
To jump ship. I think I got my CV right. And it was quite a while ago, before we had all those internet ads everywhere. So we did have internet, but not as much as today. And there were very few sites where you could find this kind of jobs. So I got one, and there was this ad that was a 30-meter boat, a 30-meter yacht, looking for a stewardess. And they asked for like 1 or 2 seasons experience. I was like, yeah, I think I fit in that. And I had all my backgrounds in hospitality as well that I would bring to the yacht. So I sent my CV. We had a phone interview, and then they flew me to the Netherlands where the yacht was for a trial. And it worked out. So I stayed for the season. I only stayed for the season. And then I moved on. But basically, I think I got my CV right, and having, the good things and the good experience in your CV and the way you word your paragraph and everything is very important.
Right, that's interesting. Okay, I'm going to ask you more about that later. Now, I'm just going to skip ahead because I've already covered the first question. So, what's a standout memory or lesson from your time on board?
There are lots. The standout memory, I'd say memories, because there's not one, they're all under different categories. Obviously, there is the traveling part of the job that is really, really cool because you get to see those places I would never have been before. And those are great memories, but also there's a lot of interpersonal learning, learning where are your limits, like how much can you do, and learning about dealing with other people. That was I think this is the major thing that I could get during my working time on the yacht, because a yacht is not a house, it's a very confined space. Everybody is basically living and sleeping on top of each other. We share the bathroom, we live in bunk beds, and we share a cabin. We eat together, we work together, so we basically together 24 hours. And there's moments you don't want to see anyone, or you want to be alone in your cabin, or you want to speak to somebody, but you don't want to have your cabin mate coming through, and it is hard to have some intimacy for yourself. And you have also to make sure that you're not taking too much time in the shower, because most of the time we're using the bathroom at the same time. So there's all this organization, and you have to be very disciplined and very compassionate about your workmates. And that is really hard, but you can make it work. You really have to put your weight in, to pull your weight to make it work. And sometimes some other people don't, it just doesn't work out with other people. And that's the hardest, because you still have to work with those people. Like everything's great. And you got to keep smiling. You got to look great, all this. So you do learn a lot. And I think it raised my standard a little bit. Like I would iron my sheets, for example, my bed sheets. I hate it when my t-shirts is not ironed, like I want to live in a nice clean house, eating in nice plates and everything. So yes, my standards have definitely been raised up. As for memories, I think I've met some wonderful people, co-workers, as well as people I was working for. So this is good, like the network you get around that, and you are exposed to other people as well. That's because I was also a chef during my 10 years, and I had to go and get some supplies, but I was always very careful where I would get my supplies from. So you get to meet local farmers, and they explain you a lot, and you're like, oh, it's how you do it here. This is very interesting. And that was cool.
Wow.
So memories. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'd love to ask you about that, but I need to ask you about what made you move from working on a yacht and getting into recruitment.
I think age. The thing, when you work on the yacht, you're always on the yacht. So if the yacht is anchored, you are in a golden prison. Yes, you make a lot of money. Yes, it looks very glamorous, very glittery and all, but you miss out on making friends. You miss out on your family. You sometimes miss out on weddings or your siblings giving births, all this stuff, because you're in the middle of the sea and there's no way you can get there, or you are fully, you full on into the season and you can't get yourself off.
Wow.
So, after a while, I think there's a time where you become mentally, emotionally, and physically tired. And I didn't want to keep a bitter taste in my mouth about the whole experience. I was like, I've done it. I'm very happy, but now I need to move on. Now I want to see something else. And also, it's like, because I during my time working on yachts, I have seen a lot of people who were like 60, 65 still working on yachts, and they kind of become it's hard to explain, but like, you know, that it's this cliche you see sometimes in movie, like the old pirates, they're completely disconnected from everything, which is, in one way it's good, but if you come over disconnected, you're not even connected with people you meet.
Uh-huh.
So, and
Interesting.
I didn't want to become like that. I still wanted to go to the movie. I still wanted like to check in with my friends, and then I wanted also to have my house and my time for me, I think.
Gotcha. So like after 10 years, you were like, okay, that's enough. I can see the future. I can see colleagues that have spent a whole career in there. That's not for me. I don't want to criticize you, but that's not for me. And I also want a bit of normality and
Yeah.
everyday
Yeah.
things
Normality.
everyday things that people living on land probably take for granted.
Yes. Yes. I wanted to go and buy my bread in the morning, or just kind of thing, taking my trash out and not having to, I don't know, to open a hatch and then open another one and dump it in there.
Yeah, it's those little things, no, like a garden and just
Yes.
tiny things. Yeah, I understand. All right. So how does just so I understand, after that time, after those 10 years, you settled down, I assume, in Paris, and you found Morgan and Mallet. Is that right?
Yes and no. Not in Paris. I live in Greece.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay.
yes, and I was really looking, like, for me there was I had a few options, because obviously, you know, when you want to change career, you've got to use your skills. At my age, I didn't want to learn anything new. That would have taken too long. And then, you know, I was like, okay, I can have an office job, but I would get very bored. I can work from home, which was my options number one, or I can run my own business. So I was trying to run my own business from home, but then running your own business needs a lot of investment, time, and also I am not in the best country right now to perhaps run a business. That, you know, like,
Yeah,
I
Greece isn't known for.
I had to
known
be
for
honest with myself. Like, Greece is not. It's great for holidays. It's great if you have a holiday home, but working and paying Greek taxes is not fantastic. So I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I was a candidate at Morgan Mallet for a while, and then I think one day there was an ad that I actually liked, or I was contacted by a recruiter. So then I started checking regularly on the website for new positions, and then I fell upon the freelance recruiter position, and I was like, oh, that could work out, because I did have to do some recruitment when I was working. Once I recruited a captain for an owner. And, you know, like, this is what I like when I was on smaller yachts. Like, you have to do everything because it's just one or two crew members. So like the job scope becomes very diverse, and I really like that. So and me as the interior worker, I would be very much in touch with the clients or the owner of the yacht, and they would ask me, can you book me a taxi? Can you do this? Can you do that? What do you think should we change the plates, or what so all of those things I would do them. And then came the time when it's like, I need a new deckhand. This one is leaving. I don't like the captain. And I was like, yeah, captain is not working. You know, like, we need someone new. And it was like, can you take care of this? You must know people. And I was like, I know people. I can try. And I did. And I was like, okay, this is actually great. I love that. So I could choose the person I was going to work with also. And then on my other jobs, I would, you know, have to replace myself when I would go on holiday. Get a temp, or we would have, I don't know, people can break their legs and you have to replace them right away. And then it's either the captains, but if the captain is too busy, it comes to the interior working people.
Gotcha.
And I would be, you know, I would volunteer, because I was like, this is nice to get to know how to do.
Interesting. Wow. And you said you were working as a candidate for Morgan and Mallet, so they had placed you in the past, so you knew the company, right?
No, unfortunately not. We never had the position I applied for. It fell through. And then after that, I saw the job ad for the freelance recruiters. So basically, they placed me in their agency. Yes.
Gotcha. So you were lucky. So you went back. You were considering going back to be a stewardess. Is that right?
Not really. I was looking for, maybe if the right opportunity would rise, yes, I was looking forward to that. But my priority was staying on land or trying,
Right.
like doing, just having this slow moving into land. So I was keeping an eye on all the, maybe, like personal assistant, but my CV was not great for personal assistant. Like it's too strange having somebody from yachting into personal assistant. People don't understand. So I would have again to start from the bottom. So I was just looking at maybe, like a household assistant who can cook, or even a governess who can cook, although I wanted to stay away from the housekeeping. But I was keeping an eye, because sometimes you have like those strange hybrid roles that come up, and you have to be like one of the first to apply if you want your CV. Otherwise, your CV is lost within all the hundreds of candidates and applicants, which is sure fair enough. But you got to be quick. You got to be fast.
Interesting. Right. Okay. How does your yacht crew background help you now when placing staff?
It makes it easier to read people, I think, and also because I have dealt with so many people, you can see who it's weird, but you can see who will work out, who's a hard worker, who's like I can do my work, but I don't want to do extra time. It's just all these interpersonal skills that you acquire when you deal with so many people.
Right. Let's see. And you said that you can judge is a bit of a harsh word, but you've got a strong feeling.
Yes, the feeling, I'd say. Yes.
Interesting.
I'd say it starts from, the first email we receive.
Yeah.
And you see how people introduce themselves, for example. And for example, when you work in a small space, or like, I think it's more or less everywhere the same, in an office even, like when you say something has to be done this way, it has to be done this way. And if you repeat something once or twice, on the third time, I'm kind of getting tired. So, but it's kind of like, also when when you ask for something, I don't know, like how can I'm trying to find an example that could relate to placing staff. I don't know, I'm going to say we in the yacht industry usually have days to do your laundry. So you have to remember that. And when you're placing staff for ultra high net worth individuals, they also have to be quick on their feet, because people don't like to repeat themselves, especially ultra high net worth individuals. Fair enough, because they're paying a fair amount of money for their staff, so they expect people to know what they're doing. And this is what we also expected when you're on a yacht crew. You expect to know the safety on board. If somebody asks you for a glass of water or drink, you expect it to know. You don't have the time to go and check for the recipe or that. That's
Understood.
Everything has to be done fast. So yeah, I think it gives you a clear idea of like, oh, that person is not going to work out for this role, but that person might be okay for another role. That person is maybe too fast, too enthusiastic, and the client is looking for someone who's discreet. So there's all those little details that when I have an interview, I take notes about. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, either, like this is at the end of the interview, basically, I decide if I'm going to represent that candidate with that client or not, or if I find that candidate better for another role, or maybe for a role that has not appeared yet.
Interesting.
Because I think it's not fair either for the candidates and the client. If they mismatch, first, it's not going to look good for me and for Morgan and Mallet. And then the candidate would be disappointed, and the client would be like, she doesn't know what she's doing. So
I see. What happens if the client is insisting on urgency?
Yes. Well, it's not my fault they're disorganized, and usually I tell them like, well, I'm always doing my best because I like what I do and I like a job that is well done. But if they are like, I need someone now, I'm like, sure, I'm still conducting interview. You are my priority right now, but I do not have the right profile, and I do not want to send you candidates that do not match.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
if they
just
still
straight up
exist,
tell them. Yeah.
yes, and I have, like, and then I will just rephrase myself differently. I still stay polite.
Mm.
But then, there's at one point, it's like, or if sometimes we can't find the right person, people are too demanding, or they live in a place that is too exiled, and people don't want to work there, so they have to make the salary more attractive. But I'm like, okay, if you want someone now, then we have to make it more attractive so we can attract someone quicker also. So we have to change the brief.
Gotcha.
Basically, I try to work around this with the client, not
Yes.
against them, like never against them, but with them. Like, if you want someone now, what can you offer so that we get a candidate very soon or now? What are the solutions we can think about to have this sorted out right now?
Interesting. So it's like, in very rare occasions, you might have to just say, look, no, we can't do this. But in the majority of the other occasions, you're going to say, okay, let's work together. Let's try and find a solution. What's really stopping this? Maybe we increase the salary, so on and so forth. Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And what do you find most rewarding about connecting clients and candidates?
It's when they click instantly, and that is really cool to see. You have a very happy client. It's like, wow, I love this person. I want her or him now. And I'm like, okay, excellent. And then the candidate is so thankful, and this is very, very moving, actually. They're like, oh, thank you so much for representing me. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool. I've done a good job.
Yeah, I guess in your profession, it's probably you might have to like step back every now and again and just think about the impact you have on their life, because now for the next 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 years, they've got a completely different lifestyle thanks to the connection that was made because of the recruiter. It's like you've changed the trajectory of their life incredibly. Yeah.
That's a big responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now, we'll just move on to the second part of the podcast. We're going to be focusing these questions all on the clients. And I was just wondering, in your view, how do luxury yacht and estate cultures differ?
For quite a long time, the yachting industry, or people going into yachting, it was more like party time. We're going to eat a lot of food. We are going to dance until 4 o'clock in the morning, drink champagne for breakfast. And on the other side, estate culture was more like family. We want to relax. We have the kids around. Maybe we do a little dinner there and there. Everybody's nicely dressed. Not everybody's wearing bikini. But this is changing. But they are still very different because, first of all, a yacht is smaller, even though now we see those huge yachts being built 70, 80 meters. Before, they were the biggest yachts in the world. Now it's kind of the norm. So we have 100, 110 meters. This is like a mini cruise ship. So they are very, very big. It's nearly like an estate. It's a mini hotel.
Yeah.
But it actually works like a hotel. So it's not an estate. For me, an estate is more like family run. I bring my family. I have my dogs running around. Maybe there's a stable there, or but the yacht is still, very different. You have kind of to show off, even if it's a big yacht, because what happens with those big yachts is like they work They like kind of high private, so the owner will have some paying guests. It's just another thing that happens in yacht as well. So you still have to show up, but you're showing up for somebody else,
Mm,
and you're showing up your status.
right. So
So
just to make sure I understand, like traditionally, the culture with the luxury yachts was a bit more party orientated, escape orientated, and like the estate culture, family tradition,
yes,
behavior. Well behaved. No,
yes.
no. Okay, gotcha. But you see, it's changing now, and it's becoming possibly. You mentioned like the what did you say? Was it private hire? Sometimes the yacht is used for private hire. Interesting.
Yes, so exactly, we see more and more of those huge yachts going private. So they're not commercial anymore. They won't be chartering, being rented out for a week. It's just which is also a kind of show off, I would say, from the owner. It's like, I have so much money, I can have a 110 meters, because owning a yacht, you will never make money, even if you charter your yacht. They say in the industry, like, there are 2 happy days of a yacht owner: the first day when he bought it, and the last day when he sold it.
Okay.
So, it kind of resume what having a yacht is like. A yacht is just a hole in your pocket, really. And like, monies just go.
Wow.
I have never seen any owners who actually make money from. They can maybe, square even at the end. This is why they charter their yachts, and then they can use it a little bit.
Mhm.
But you will never become rich owning a yacht and renting it out. And so now I think this has been accepted that only rich people can have yachts.
Mhm.
So the very rich and the very powerful have big yachts. And yeah, it's true, when you see like a big yacht coming into port, and most of the time they can't because they're too big. But when you see them being anchored out, it's like, this is massive. And it's like, what is it like to work on one of this? This is basically, you still have the yachting hierarchy within your crew, but it's also
Mhm.
like working in a hotel.
Right, right. Interesting. So you'll have like a housekeeping staff, maybe bar staff, all
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
chefs,
yeah,
everything.
definitely. And on the other side, the estate culture is still, like, it's still a small group for me, unless it's a massive estate. But
Mhm. Gotcha. Interesting. All right. What can household employers learn from how yachts run, their teams? Sorry.
I say it's good to leave the, like, the running of the team management to one person or two. And because on the yacht, basically the person in charge is the captain. The captain is responsible for the safety of the yacht, running their crew, and anything else that's related to the yacht. The owner doesn't have to deal with this, or shouldn't, that's I should say, because
Mhm.
some yacht owners are very much involved, and this is when basically the confusion starts. People don't know where or whom to ask what. So, you leave it to one person, and that person will delegate to other people, and you have your team. And,
Mhm.
if you send your team, your managers are efficient, then it should run perfectly. So
Right.
leave it to the person in charge.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Do
Just
not
like
get involved.
delegation. And with the yachts, like I know I've heard in some households, in some estates, maybe they have a document of like, okay, this is a very special leather sofa. It needs to be cleaned with these products, and it's all documented down, written down. Is it the same in the yachts? Do
It
they have?
is.
Yeah.
It is
Gotcha.
exactly the same. And I think there's more turnover in yachts. So it is actually necessary to have this. The
Ah,
next person might not have the correct handover from the person who left. So it's good to have everything written. We call them SOP.
SOPs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you said there's high turnover in yachts. Is that because the of what you were saying earlier, that it's quite demanding?
Yes, it's demanding, and people don't really know what they get themselves into. They think you can yes, sometimes you can, but I'd rather not, to be honest. And it's very long hours. Sometimes you cannot go out. Sometimes you are awake until 4 o'clock in the morning. So there is a little bit of a deception here. And unfortunately, we have this series, Below Deck, that I don't know if you heard about it. It's about crew members working on yacht, and they have, each season is a different yacht for a different season, and now it's just turned very silly. And this has given a lot of shadow to the industry, and brought in some people who have no idea what they were doing, or no idea what they were there. They were just kind of cute or good looking. So it became a party, like a season just to go party, but they had to work. So this is now the mentality because of this series, although it's not everywhere like that. But yes,
Right.
it's hard, and you need to be, like, not everybody can be a waiter, not everybody can be a chef, not everybody can be even a cleaner or butler. You have to like it. You have to have the abilities, the interpersonal skills. So it's the same as working on yachts. You have to like the sea. Working at sea is different. You can get seasick. You can't go out when you want. You have watches when you are on duty. For example, when you're anchored, and maybe you're going to be on watch at 4 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the morning too, for security.
Oh, gotcha. I
Yes,
was going to say,
yeah,
why
there's
would you need a
other thing.
watcher when you're anchored? Gotcha.
Yes, you're at sea. This is a very hostile environment.
Interesting.
No clue.
Wow. But let me just rewind a bit, because you said, you mentioned a series, Below Deck. I haven't
Yes.
seen this. And just check, I just want to check if I understand correctly. It kind of showed, the series kind of showed a different angle of working on board, and it had kind of attracted, as a result, attracted the wrong type of candidates into the industry, which just added to the turnover problem. Is that correct?
Yes. I think it's the right way to say it. It did attract wannabe famous and wannabe a star people who basically didn't care about the job. And then now it's pictured like, oh, it's very easy, you just got to wipe the table. No, you can't. You actually have to iron the sheets on the bed so it's nice and clean. If somebody wants a truffle cheese sandwich at 1 o'clock in the morning, you have to go and wake up the chef.
Right. Gotcha.
So it's all about that. Yes. And your sandwich has to look like exactly the same as if you were serving it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So with all the little decoration and everything.
Wow.
Product, clients expect the best. They pay a lot of money, so they are expecting the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What separates a good client from a great client when you're hiring?
I'm going to start with the best. A great client is someone who listens to you, who replies to your messages, pick up the phone when you call, give you a productive feedback. Not just, oh no, I don't like this client. That is, for me, that is not good enough, because I don't know why. I need to know why they don't like the candidate, so I can remodify and restructure my search. And then a great client will also, like, we have agreements to sign, we have fees, they understand the fees, they know what the fees are for. So the fees are paid on time, because they also understand that I work for the fee. Unfortunately, I don't work for free. And a good client is nearly the same as a great client, but they're not as responsive. They're not as thorough in their feedback. They're going to change the brief, although that's okay if we need to. That's always fine. But for me, the most important from a client is to get feedback, is to get replies, because otherwise I can't really keep going. I don't know where to stand. Like, I don't want to go blindly and then I make a mistake and nobody will be.
I see. And Stephanie, are you dealing with PAs of principals, or principals directly, or just captains? Who do you usually deal with?
I think it's 50-50. Quite a few PAs. Sometimes we get the client directly or the owner of the boat. We also get the captain. But I'd say more PAs or more representative than the client themselves.
I see. And just going back to a good client from a great client, and I guess a poor quality client would be the opposite of all those good traits you just mentioned. And like they would be vague, they would be slow, they would be changing briefs and all of this, right? Gotcha.
Yes.
Is that quite common?
It does happen. I think they don't understand what we need. So from the beginning, it could be a misunderstanding from the beginning. Those are the tools that you learn to use properly as you go with the job. So you have to be very clear from the beginning and also install boundaries. But you need the feedback. If you don't get the feedback, then it's very hard to work because you don't understand. You need to understand their needs. You work for them. So please, give me as much information as you can. You give me too much information, that's okay. I'll filter, I'll go through. But I need to know. Yes, and then as well, if we don't have feedback, candidates are actively looking for work, so they might find another offer, and then
I see.
Yeah, and that is kind of like, yep, I told you, but you can't say that. So I try to keep it light with my clients. Like I don't want to pressure them because that's first, I think it's not nice, and then we're not gonna get anywhere. I just want them to understand that I need them to keep working. I'm giving them a service, but if they don't tell me what they need, then my service is not going to be great.
Gotcha. You need to keep them on board.
Exactly. Yes. I need to keep them. And yes, I understand sometimes that if the search takes long because they want a very specific profile, then they kind of lose interest.
Right.
But then it is my role to keep them on track or keep them on their toes, we could say. Saying, like checking in regularly and say, this is what I did this week, but I'm not going to introduce you to any candidates here. I was not happy, but I've got this on the line. So keep them there.
Interesting. Yeah, just keep them in the loop and keep them updated. I see. And I guess as well, just going back to like responsive clients, when you get a responsive client, it helps a lot because I'm assuming the best stewardesses, butlers, whatever, they won't be short of job offers either, and they'll be moving fast as well.
Yeah, and that is I can't really pressure the clients because I got this very good profile, but they also, if they're looking for jobs, they will take, the best offer. And also it says a lot, like if I put myself in the shoes of a candidate and that clients, although they have my profile, but they're not responding, I'm like, okay, they're not interested. That's fine. I move on. Like, well, maybe I don't want to, if they come back to me within a month, or like, I don't really want to work somebody like that who's just kind of all over the show. And then it's my role to be in the middle and keep everybody interested and get everyone on the same boat.
And good one. What's one common challenge clients face when hiring household staff?
Timing.
Yeah.
Timing. I'd say timing, and maybe salaries. That could be another one as well. Because sometimes people think they offer a very good salary, but if you want someone who has 20 years experience, it's going to be different paying someone who has 5 years experience.
Yeah.
Yes, and then time. Like if the client comes to me and say, I needed somebody yesterday, I already know that is going to be complicated.
Diplomatically phrased.
Yes. Or someone who tells me, I'm very busy, I didn't have the time to look. Okay, that is going to be complicated as well. So then I take my joker card and say, okay, let's try this.
Tell me more about the joker card.
Then the joker card is this is a profile not to be missed, and I think everything is in the wording as well. When So I have, let's say, I like to offer my clients 3 to 4 choices to start with. And then sometimes one will go through, they will move on with one. Sometimes none of them will move. And I'm like, okay, then we need to redo the brief, because I will not also present the same profiles 3 times, 4 times the same person. That's useless. Like all my profiles have something different that they can bring to the client. So sometimes the client will be, oh yeah, actually that's a good one, like, oh, this person can do yoga. I want to do some yoga. Maybe we can do a little bit of yoga. I'm like, you can try. That's,
Ah, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and if they don't reply, I was like, like, that would be nice, give that person a chance, like, have a chat, take half an hour of your time and have a chat with that person. I think they're really good. And then this is me to gently nudge the client towards having at least a video call with the client, the
Yeah,
candidate.
I see. And it was interesting when you said you present 3 or 4 candidates, and I guess all of them will have what was required, and then the differentiator would be some other skill set, some other plus. And you just mentioned yoga. I guess some could be like, I don't know, worked in a Michelin kitchen in 2020 or whatever, and there'd be like little pluses that the client might be interested, that might tip
Yes.
the edge, so to speak.
Yes, like the client needs to identify themselves to something. Like when you were speaking about earlier about the Michelin star restaurants, I have this client who named a few restaurants that he wanted his candidate to have worked in. And then, so I have tried a candidate who didn't have the same restaurants, not those names anyway, but like some equally good premises. And that didn't work because the candidate could not identify themselves to the place. I think they know that place very well and they've loved it, but they couldn't relate to the other place because they had no idea. Maybe they went to check on the internet and it's like, no, I still prefer my place. Like we all have our favorite restaurants.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So let me check I understood correctly. You had a client and they said to you that I would like a candidate who has worked in XYZ restaurants. That's quite a tall brief, isn't it? That's quite a difficult one. Yeah.
It is.
Did
Yeah.
you find the person who had worked in those restaurants?
Yes. Yes, I have. It is actually, people work in places, so there must have been a chef somewhere who has worked in at least 1 or 2 of those restaurants, or who has done an apprenticeship for 1 week, or what they call them stage. It's like a short period where they work intensively and learn the methods and the cooking style of the place. And he was looking for that. And I did have a few candidates who have worked in those places, but he was focused on one profile, just that one. And that's the one he couldn't have.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yeah. So I'm still working on this file. But yes, and I'm thinking he does want the best. He's ready to pay an enormous amount of money for the best chef. He wants the unique profile out there, but that person is already committed to somebody else, although they have applied. So we're trying to work something out, and we'll see.
Oh, the chef has already applied.
They have applied. They had a video call. Everything went well, but the chef is already committed to some other family, and they're not sure they want to leave the family. So we're trying to work something out, maybe for the summer. It's kind of complicated, but I think this is what I have to expect with this client.
Wow. Yeah. I guess it makes the job more interesting for yourself when you get challenges like this, no?
That is a tough challenge. This one is. This one,
Right.
but otherwise, yes, like when you get something interesting, like, oh, I actually have to kind of scratch my head. Where am I going to get that person? And it takes me 2-3 days before I'm like, oh, this is where I should target this kind of profiles. not on LinkedIn, not there. My network would be useless. Maybe somebody knows somebody, so I have to reach out to those people.
Is
So
that what you did for this role?
Not for this role, because he came to me.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm very grateful. But for another role I have, a complicated one, I had to reach out to some association all over the world to see, like, do you know some? Oh, hi. First of all, you have to introduce yourself very nicely. And then, do you know somebody by any chance?
Wow. Wow. And actually, I'll move on to the next question because we're running out of time. This is the last question. And
Okay.
How can principals better maintain strong, loyal teams?
Organization. That is
Yeah.
structure,
Mm-hmm.
foundation, and structure. People like to know for work where they're going to, even though, you know, there can be some changes, or like if it's traveling position, yes, you understand, but you want to know what time is the flight, you want to know what to pack. If you, let's say, if you're traveling PA and you have to pack your principal's luggage, you want to know the destination. So, you know, a basic structure, a basic foundation, and communication, clear communication. With those, then everything's fine. But clear communication, structure, foundation.
Yeah.
And
just keeping everything structured, organized. Exactly. Everybody knows the role, the task, the expectations.
Exactly.
Things ship shape and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes.
Super. Right then, there's no more questions from me. Well, there is one last question. Is there anything that you would like clients to know that I haven't covered?
No. Please be nice to us. We're only doing our job. Don't get mad. Yes, I know sometimes it doesn't work their way, and I'm frustrated too when it doesn't work their way. I take the frustration too, because that means either I've done something wrong or something went wrong on the way. But this is what it is, and we have to work around this. So let's work together, not against each other, but work together.
Absolutely. Super. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. It's been a very very enjoyable call. I do appreciate you taking the time. And for the clients listening, or anybody listening to this Morgan and Mallet podcast, if you've got any questions, just reach out to Morgan and Mallet. You can find the site at householdstaff.agency. And if you are a candidate looking for a job, just go to householdstaff.agency/jobs. And if you are a client and you are considering hiring somebody, you need a new butler, a housekeeper, chauffeur, or stewardess, then get in contact. Even if you don't know the salaries, if you've got any questions, just jump on the site and get in contact and we can help you.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Ben.
Thank you very much as well, Stephanie.